All right, we are live week of January the 9th, and I am here with my partner in crime, Mr. Mark Koretsky. We are going to jump into some great stuff this week for the show. We're going to talk about Austin market top line. We're going to talk about mortgage lending. In particular, we're going to talk about what it's like to work with a builder and their loan officer versus working with a professional like yourself. We're going to talk about property values, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in Austin as it pertains to what's going on, some new builds, and some exciting new announcements. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's kick off with the fact that this week in Austin, I was really excited about this. We have 681 new listings that came to the market in the last week. That's almost 100 a day. And we saw 571 homes sell in the last week, which is awesome. So that's about 75 a day. So the new year has kicked off with a big, big bang.
I think it has, but I think a lot of those closings, they would have gone under contract around November, right? And so we're going to see this little lull right now that we're seeing because it would have been the holiday shoppers that a lot of them, they didn't go out immediately during the holidays, right? And so I think it's good to see, but I think what I'm seeing overall is we really aren't getting all that much more inventory coming to market, right? We've got those 686 that are coming to market, but I, for one, and a lot of my buyers would like to see more.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you from our perspective over here, it is just sort of this flatness, which is great. I will take this flatness right now, anytime, because people are really keying into the idea that we are in this space of less fear than more fear, is the vibe I'm getting.
We've talked about it before, right? We as humans, we are very good and quick to adapt. And so I think we're seeing a normalization of things. We're going with the flow and taking what the market gives us.
Absolutely. So whether you call it normalization, stability, return to normal, all of these things are great news because at the end of the day, if you want to move into a new city, into a new town, into a new part of the city that you're already living in, isn't it great to know that you don't have to have the fear and the gloom and the doom that all of those announcements have been really causing prior to the last 2 weeks?
You bring up a really good point because even without what's been going on in the world and what's going on with the economy, buying and selling a home is always stressful and it's always fear inducing. And so it's good for us as professionals to see kind of less pressure on buyers to make one decision versus the other. So, like you said, it's good to see some more sense of calm coming back into the market.
Yeah, it is. And when we look at what's actually happening in the city of Austin from a dollars and cents perspective and where our home values are, there's so much clickbait out there with what's happening. And what we're seeing in Austin actually right now is when we look at homes from 500 to almost 750, we have 2,214 homes for sale. Nice number. From 750,000 to 999,000. There's 924 homes for sale. When we're at the million to almost 2 million, 722 homes for sale. And then 2 to 3 million, we're at 173. And 3 to 4, we are at 127. And then we've got 19 homes that are 7.5 million and above. So we have a pretty healthy economy in terms of the ability to come to Austin and buy some really beautiful luxury houses.
And there's a lot of people coming, right? Both from within the state, but also from all of these, whether coast cities and states, but also the middle of the country. We're seeing a lot from Illinois and Chicago, but Washington State for me has been one of the hotter ones here in Dallas recently. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but we'll take it here in Texas.
Absolutely. And so just for, to level it out, we have right now about 8,500 homes for sale, 2,200 of them. So a quarter of them are between $500,000 and $750,000. So that's pretty healthy.
It's good. Yeah. I mean, it's all relative, right? Whether
Sure.
it's relative for me, like I grew up in the Northeast, and so 500 to 750, that was affordable back in like 2001. But for us in Texas, if you grew up in Austin, you're looking at some of the price points right now, you're saying, what, this isn't like it was last time I looked at it. And so it's all relative based on what perception point you're coming from.
Absolutely. When I am sitting down with sellers, it's something that I am very clear with because my intake process is pretty in depth when I'm talking to sellers because I need to understand what their level of knowledge is. When did they sell last? How long have they been thinking about selling? What is their end game? What do they think they want to net? And where do they think they want to go before we even consider really putting the house on the market? Because if all of those things, all of those data points don't line up, then we then need to take that next step and we need to adjust what their considerations are and what are their must-haves, or whether or not at this point they really want to sell their homes. So there's a lot of thinking that goes on before we put a house on the market with our sellers.
For sure. And the thing is, with both working with sellers that are investors or not investors, most primary residence owners, when they go to sell, they need another piece of inventory or a unit of inventory elsewhere, right? And so if they're staying in the market, they have to consider the options available to them or the lack thereof in that selling decision-making process.
Yeah, and here's the funny thing. Let's flip it now and let's talk about buyers, okay? So with buyers right now, buyers have been hesitant in the market to purchase. At what other point do you walk away from a deal? You go to a clothing retail, you're looking for a deal, so to speak, right? Can I buy something? Is it 30% off for clothes? You go to look at the economy right now and you see that, the stock market is in certain places is a little bit on sale, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but it's rebounding over these last couple of days.
Right. And it's still a better price than it was. And so everyone knows that when something is down, that's the best time to invest. It's dumbfounding how that does not translate to the normal person on the street who's thinking about buying a home. That said, the dead giveaway is investors are out now more than ever buying homes. So, what does that tell you about the state of home purchasing in Austin, Texas?
It's very much still a seller's market, and there is more likely not going to be less inventory not than more.
Yeah.
That's part of the challenge that we're seeing on the buyer end for sure.
We definitely have a challenge with inventory. We've had a challenge with inventory since well before my time. And we will continue to have this opportunity for people who are already qualified, understand what their money will get them in today's market, and
Mhm.
they can go out and they can buy. Because when you understand clearly what the parameters are for you to go out and buy a home, whether it's a resale home, which is just fancy talk for a house that somebody else has already lived in, or if you're looking to buy a house that is a new construction house, like what does your money really get you? And so as soon as you have that true understanding in today's market, the rest of it is like, okay, let's go out and find you that dream home.
I wish it was always that easy, right? Life always has a way of throwing things in the mix. And it's so funny. As soon as you decide to go buy or sell real estate, like that's when everybody's world gets the craziest. But yeah, in a perfect world, that's exactly what you're looking at.
Yeah. So let's continue talking about money, Mark, and let's talk about mortgage lending and buying a new construction home, because this is something that I've been talking to a number of buyers about, and why you work with a mortgage lender versus a builder's lender. And so there's three parts to the equation, as you and I were talking about this kind of offline. Number one is the builder's mortgage lender is a salesperson working on behalf of the builder. A mortgage professional like you is someone who works for the buyer. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the difference of walking into a store and asking for something and you being given it versus you going to, for example, a doctor or an attorney or just somebody that it really takes a lot more conversation to really get an understanding of truly what's in your best interest. So that way that advisor can actually serve them and provide the best solution. And so the difference really, it comes out to be massive because we're talking about a buyer's biggest asset, yes, in most cases,
Mhm.
but their biggest liability every single time, right? Like more often than not, you're not borrowing less with every home purchase. You end up borrowing more because the beauty of real estate, the beauty of mortgages is it allows you to leverage, right? And so we see the power of that every single day. But that's the biggest difference is really talking to somebody that is an order taker that you have to really rely on to give you the best solution versus somebody that's working for you as an advisor and crafting that solution for you.
Awesome. That was a great answer. So, part two of that is what's the true cost to work with a builder's lender with all of the incentives that they list for you at the beginning versus working with a trusted advisor? Thoughts?
It's different every single time, right? And so my biggest advice is always to have somebody representing you and your best interest every single time. But at the end of the day, I know the reality, which is the incentives sound really good and they can be in some circumstances. They can be really hidden in one way or another in others. And so what I always recommend somebody is by all means have somebody that's local, that's looking out for you. Take a look at what the builder's lender is offering you. Take a look at what are the terms that they're offering you, but what is the level of those conversations? What is your comfort level with their ability to actually perform on whatever they're telling you over the phone? And so I would just say, basically identify what it is you're comparing, because if there is a difference, you need to know what that difference is. For everybody, there's going to be a threshold where, for example, I'm more than willing to pay a little bit extra to have the right level of service and just the certainty that I don't need to worry about the biggest purchase of my life, right? Others put a lower threshold on that. Others say, no, I don't need it at all. And I'm going to go with whoever's cheapest. That's everybody's decision to make. I've got no decision in that regard. But at the end of the day, it's up to everybody to know what it is they're choosing between.
Yeah. And so I would say to anyone who is considering working with the builder's lender, like, get a second opinion, get a third opinion, whatever it looks like, because it may look like this really rosy picture and you think you've got the ice cream sundae and the banana and the cherry on top, and it turns out you're missing the sprinkles. And so you really want to get with a trusted advisor who can advise you and get deep in that with you, which brings us to our third point, Mark. And that is there are 100 different ways to structure a loan. And if you think your loan is a cookie cutter loan, you are sadly mistaken, because there are things that can be done for you when you work with a professional to uncover and allow you to utilize your money in more ways more effectively than you can ever imagine. So, with that said, Mark, is there a best option?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody, right? Like we all have our own different circumstances and we're all at different life stages than one another, right? And so the right decision for you is not the same right decision for your cousin or for your neighbor or for
Mhm.
pick your stereotype, right? What I would really say is, man, there's so much I want to say about it, but here's the reality of the situation, right? Like there is nothing in life that's free, right? And so there are a lot of different ways when you're buying new construction for you to pay the costs that it takes, right? The builder, they're a 100% for profit business.
Yep.
Bless them for it. Bless America for allowing it. And it's their job to make a profit, right?
Mhm.
Their profit has been eroded over decades, the
Yeah.
reality is. And during COVID, there were a lot more supply chain issues and challenges that builders saw than most of our industries actually saw. And so what they have done is they have found ways to increase those profits, right? One of those ways is to be able to own a mortgage company, it's to own a title company, and it's to get profit from every vehicle, every stage of the process. That comes at a cost in one way or another to the consumer, right? There's other ways that builders do it. You could have a company like us, Movement Mortgage. We work with builders all across the country. You could partner up with a mortgage company that knows exactly what they're doing, specialize in it. And usually what ends up happening there is that mortgage company is paying to have that preferred relationship, right? And so you really need to take a look at what are the terms that are being offered both with the in-house lender, but then also those preferred lenders. And then again, compare that to somebody that has no dog in the fight, whether you buy this house or the new construction down the street, or you buy resale. They're just going to look out for you and give you the best advice.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole reason for, in my opinion, when I talk to my clients is when you work with a mortgage lender, they are not biased. Their goal is to get you the best opportunity at that time when you close and provide you the most amount of value. Because I can tell you that if you are working with the builder's lender, so to speak, if rates go down, do you think they're going to call you to refinance? No. So the relationship that people have, that buyers have, that are I covet is that there is a trusted resource on the other side. If they make another decision, it's fine. If they have an in because their company has an opportunity at a bank, maybe it's better, maybe it's not. But whatever they do and whatever you're thinking about, if you're looking at buying a new house, is make sure you find a trusted advisor.
That's exactly right. Because even though mortgage lenders, they should be acting in their client's best interest, like we are not all created equal, right? The same way as the real estate agent, the realtor, it's supposed to be the buyers, the seller's fiduciary. We all have a different level of professionalism in this game and a different take on what that actually means. And so, like you said, it's find a trusted advisor. And if somebody is being recommended to you as somebody that's a trusted advisor, that's a lot different than just, oh, I know a guy or I know a gal, like, here you go.
Yeah, well, you know what? Funny thing is, and I didn't get a chance to tell you this offline. I was with a client that we shared who we put into a new home community, and we were talking about you and the experience. And in the end, this particular person didn't end up working with you. However, he couldn't stop talking about how you spent so much time with him and how you valued the relationship, and you were showing him alternative ways to do things with his money that would create a better opportunity. And he was just like, "Oh, how is Mark? He is so smart. He introduced me to this amazing book. It's changed the way I think about so many things." It's just like it was such a heartwarming discussion to have, and to know that while you didn't do business in this case, when he has an investment property or he has friends or all of those things, like your name is at the tip of his tongue, which is just to me heartwarming because I so covet at my relationships, and anyone that I work with is really an extension of me. So I just wanted to let you know that. So
I
publicly.
appreciate that. I appreciate that. I have literally had to force buyers to use a builder's lender. Like there were times where it was like the difference in the cost for what they would pay to use me versus them. Like it was over my threshold, right? And I told them like, this is the best thing for you. Like you
Yeah,
said earlier, I happen to get referrals from them all the time. And then there are times where, and I guess this is a good thing to bring up, nobody can force any buyer borrower to use a specific lender. It
sure.
is always that consumer's right to choose. And so I have had where that really, there was some stuff going on that was a little bit gray in there. And so there were times where like I just told the client, listen, the best thing for you is to get this purchase completed. It just happens to be that you have to use these guys that you don't necessarily trust, but trust me, I'm here for you from here on out.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that just says a lot about your integrity, which I really appreciate.
It's not about the loan. It's never about the loan. It's about giving the best advice and trying to be the best impact and leave the greatest impact on everybody that I touch.
And that is one of your qualities. Absolutely. That's some of the rare air that people have the luxury of receiving. And so that is why you are a trusted advisor. So, with that said, Mark, let's talk about the fact that there's big news. Speaking of builders, one of my favorite communities in all of Austin is in the Northwest. And anybody who I talk to about this, they say, well, what about these other places? And I'm like, well, this one is the best. And apparently it's not just me, because Austin Business Journal just announced that Santa Rita Ranch has claimed the title of the top selling master planned community in Austin for the third consecutive year, which is amazing as a distinction because they are also one of the top three building communities in the entire nation. I'm so excited for them. It's such an incredible spot.
It's honor to them and the work that they've done, because there's a lot of competition out there, right?
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of communities master planned primarily in Texas these days, right? Like that is the more attractive option for a buyer, is these master planned communities. So honor to y'all. You guys are doing great work.
Yeah, well, I'm not part of them, but I do sell in there, and I am working closely with a number of the top builders. They've done something that other communities haven't, which is they started very quickly with their amenities center to allow community to come together. And right now they've got $40 million worth of amenity centers on the entire Santa Rita Ranch, and more coming. They've got schools as part, like right on Santa Rita Ranch, and they're all like Liberty and Leander school districts. So it's really impressive. So shout out to all the folks who are living there, who saw the opportunity, and for anybody else who's coming. Can't wait to start showcasing a bunch of the properties, and that is currently in the works. So I'm really excited.
It is all about bringing the amenities in, because that's how you bring in the demand, right? And so we've got some communities up here in the DFW. We've got like crystal lagoons popping up left and right. And so it's so cool to see. And it's so great that we get to live in Texas, where this is part of our day-to-day life. This isn't like that. Like this isn't the case in a lot of different parts of this country. And so it's one of the biggest value adds that I see as somebody that grew up in the ancient Northeast. And so I'm excited to see it every time.
It is amazing, like when you see multiple pools and you see water slides, and it's amazing what they have the ability to do. And the community, the calendar, like when you look at their calendar, there's like 200 different things calendared just for this new year. So there's something for everyone. So big shout out to Santa Rita Ranch. Congratulations. And I look forward to selling more properties in there and really bringing to bear the value of that property and what they've got going on, because it really is fantastic. So with that said, Mark, in the news right now, I think one of the biggest things in Austin in the news right now is Apple is going in a different direction than everyone else, and they are building, building, building. And instead of cutting back like others, they are announcing more buildings. And I mean, they said they were going to start in 2019, and they just haven't stopped. It's phenomenal what's going on over at the campus over at Parmer in the North End. And like, it's incredible the hundreds of thousands of square feet that they are currently building out.
It's hard to bet against Apple, right? Like they have tried to be obliterated by the market so many different times, and they keep finding ways to innovate and to bring in the right talent. And it's no surprise to me that they're focused on the Austin market, because it's got some of the best talent in the country.
Yeah, and they continue to bring it. So between Apple and Tesla and Meta and all of the big Samsung and all of the things that are going on, we've had so many announcements just even in the last 2 weeks. It's really phenomenal to see how some of our smaller towns are growing as well and what they're bringing in. So I'm really excited. And I'm going to do a deeper dive with you the next time we get together and really talk about what's happening in Austin and the impact and what that's doing from a traffic standpoint, where our builders are building, because we're seeing a lot more folks who are looking to commute from different places, whether it's from, in the Southwest and Dripping Springs, or if it's, in the far north, out at Hutto, wherever it is. Like there's so much opportunity happening in Austin. It's phenomenal to see what's going on.
It's going north, it's going south, it's going east, west. It's amazing to see.
Yep. So I want to talk about one last thing, Mark, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, always.
All right. Home buyers. Here's the thing. Home buyers, we are in the month of January. You got used to seeing a lot of new home construction builders making big announcements of homes that are for sale at a cost that was lower than previous months. This is the case in every Q4 of every year since time in memoriam. With that said, if you are thinking that you are going to come in January or February and March and request those incentives, they are gone. They are no longer incentives that are offered by the builders. Now, there may be other opportunities that exist, and those are things we can talk about. We can help you negotiate all sorts of things, but don't come in to the office looking for $100,000 off a house because that happened to be the price point a month ago. doesn't exist. Builders get rid of their homes for tax purposes specifically. So just a quick heads up, because I can't tell you how many conversations I overheard this weekend about that exact thing. And it's like, sorry, those things don't exist anymore.
You've got to strike when the iron's hot, right? And I didn't even consider that reality, given that this was like, what, less than 2 weeks ago that they were being blasted everywhere. But yeah, that's something that people are going to have to get used to, because the reality is that the builder does decide, right? And so that's why we've talked about in the past, Jennifer, like, you don't typically look to buy new construction in a short-term view, right? You're
Right.
really looking at this as a long-term investment. And part of the reason is that you're going to be competing with new construction. They get to set the rules. And if they need a tax write-off at the end of the year, they are going to take it. And so that impacts all of those already built properties in that community. But at the same time, I know some buyers that came upon some great deals at the end of the year, and power to them. And if you didn't, then hey, buy sooner than later. And if next December makes more sense for you, like, strike when the iron's hot.
Absolutely. And there are opportunities. They just don't look like the opportunities that we saw in December for new home buyers. And that's where, again, just working closely with builders and understanding what is available and to be that conduit to make that happen. That's really a big part of my role, as well as helping with the process, because some people think are like, hey, I'll build a new home, and then they, they're going to sign a check and then just show up and get keys. There's so many decisions that need to be made along the way. There's inspections. There's so many things. In fact, you've heard it here first. I'm going to write a book about it.
Do it.
I'm doing it.
There's a lot of moving parts and pieces, and one of the biggest one is just hurrying up to wait, right? Like, that's the biggest thing for me. Like, I just don't have the patience. Like, if I want this house, like, I want it now. And so that patience is very much a virtue, and patience is very much what's needed when you're going from dirt to house, right? Especially if you're doing custom. We talked about the master plan communities, but I know a lot of buyers, their ultimate dream is to go full custom build. And I get it. I get it myself. It's just, that is an undertaking. And so there's a lot of different options for everybody, Jennifer. The only thing that matters is what's the right option for that buyer and seller specifically.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. So with that in mind, Mark, we did it. Week 2 done. Thanks for coming out. I'm excited. We have some good stuff coming out this year. We're revamping the show a little bit, and can't wait to bring some other folks on board with us and just keep giving the people what they need. And if you've come this far, thank you so much for tuning in with Mark and I. If you have any questions, please do a favor, comment below. We want to make sure that we are answering the questions that you have at any given time, and we can bring them on to the next show. And maybe one of these days we're just going to go live, and I think that'll be a lot of fun too. And we won't pre-record. We're just going to put it right out and get everybody in who has questions, and it can be an ask me anything, and away we go.
To your point, Jennifer, like, we deal with this every single day. And so we often overlook the amount of knowledge and value that we have on topics. And so by all means, write in what questions you have, what concerns you have. Let's open up a dialogue and conversation, and we can bring more value to you, the viewer.
Absolutely. That sounds great. I love it. So everyone, my name is Jennifer S. Goodman. I'm a realtor here in Austin, Texas, and I am with my partner,
Mark Koretsky, Movement Mortgage. Always a pleasure. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.